Hi, I'm Jennifer S. Lewis, CEOE, and I'm here to talk to you today about how to get more from Google products. Just a little bit about me. I am the compliance coordinator at the University of Southern Mississippi. I'm the immediate past president of USM AOP here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So today we're going to talk about how you get more from Google products. We know we all use Google products, but sometimes we're not necessarily using them to their optimal potential because we don't have a lot of time to sit there and figure out the new things they're doing and the easy ways of doing things. And we may be doing something in a much more time intensive way than we should be. So this is an opportunity to look at some different things that I've found recently that have helped me to do things a little bit quicker and to use Google and its products as a great way of saving information so I can look at it later and providing me maybe some productivity assistance is what I would call it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is hyperlinks. So I don't know if you're like me, but I like to save things and not necessarily read them then, but read them later. But the big thing is I don't want to sit there and spend a lot of time PDFing everything or printing everything and ending up with a bunch of paper. Because from a recycling standpoint, we certainly don't want to do that. So what I found is that if I could save the hyperlinks somewhere, it would be a great solution to allow me to look at those materials later, not necessarily through a bookmark, where I might accidentally mess the bookmarks up or something. So I found this little add-on in Google called Glinks. So to get Glinks, all you do is open your Google Chrome, and ideally you want to use Google Chrome as your browser because it is optimized for the Google products. And I just put on add in Glink. And it didn't like that. So then I went Glink, add in Chrome. And then it comes up with the first result. So I actually have it installed, but if you didn't, you would just click the button and it would add it in. So once it's added in, you need to go to your Google Drive. So I'm already signed into my Google Drive, so I just click Google Drive. And there I am. So let's find something to save. I like to save news articles from inside higher education. And so this is one about Learner Revolution and what it means for higher education. So let's say I want to read this later. So I'm just going to copy this. And then I'm going to go back to my Google Drive. I'm going to go to New. I'm going to go to More. And I'm going to find Glinks. This little window is going to pop up, and I'm going to paste the URL of the website there and find it a name. So learning styles. And it automatically puts the extension Glink. I don't really see the point of changing it. It's just easier for me to leave it as Glink, but there are some other options, including a .url one, and it'll recognize any of those and open it. Hit save. So after you do that, what I would do is double check that it saved it. Oops. And there you go. There it is, Learning Styles, Glink. So I found that sometimes Glink works well, and sometimes just Learning Styles or the title of whatever you named it works well. But one thing that's easiest for me is not to just have them floating around here. What I like to do is move these to a folder. But you have to have a folder. So new folder. And you're going to put in here, I put Glinks, or you can put Glinks to read, because you could subcategorize. So once you have your folder, go back to your My Drive. And you have Glinks to read. Okay? So let's go back to my Learning Styles. And then I'm going to right-click my Learning Styles. I'm going to put Move To. And it's going to ask me My Drive. And I'm going to look for my folders. So Glinks to read. And I'll move it there. So the next time, I just know to go to Glinks to read, and there it is. And you just click it, and it opens the article. It takes a sec to open it, but it does open the article. And there you go. Now, this brings me to another thing that I like to do with my folders, as you may have seen. Color coding. Some things are more important than others, and Google has recognized that. And in order to allow you to do that by color, there is a change color option for all your folders. If you right-click on a folder, you can go in here and pick another color. So if I want to make sure that I'm doing these first, oops, I turned it red, so that's easy for me to see. You'll also see that there can be like favorites, and you can star it. So that also makes it easier to find. Another thing I'd like to point out about folders that I didn't notice until recently was some of them are a little bit different. So you'll see here there's a little guy there. That means this folder is actually shared out with people. So that's one of the things that you could see. This folder is shared out with some folks. This folder is shared out with some folks. And the way you know is with that little figure of a person on there. So that helps you, oops, to be able to kind of see what you've done in the past. And that's the first thing I wanted to share with you, just a way to have that information handy. The other thing I want to share with you is how to use the new dictation feature in Google. So first thing you do, you saw it kind of quick, I said new Google Docs. And I'm in Google Docs, and I'm going to go to Tools. And it's not called dictation, it's actually called voice typing. They want to be unique and call it voice typing. So the first thing you do after you do that is go ahead and click on the microphone, and you're going to see that it's going to automatically, once I start clicking this, it's going to start typing. So the first thing that you will see is that it types as quickly as you speak, period. Next line. Sometimes, comma, it makes mistakes, comma, but it is not often incorrect, period. Next paragraph. So it doesn't like next paragraph, period. But there are actually a bunch of commands you can use. So new line. Whoops, I think I actually turned it off. A bunch of commands you can use. New line. New paragraph. I always like to talk to it as fast as I can to see if it can pick up everything that I want to say. Period. Exclamation point. Exclamation point. Exclamation point. New line. Who knows what it's thinking? Question mark. I just know that it can actually type as fast as I can speak, which is pretty fast. Period. And then you just click it off. But you can see it's actually picking up everything I'm saying. And interestingly enough, I'm not using a microphone at all. I'm just using the audio on the computer. This was actually recommended to me by one of my professors as a way of doing a dissertation. He said that you could just go ahead and start speaking and it will pick up everything that you're thinking. And later you can go back and make changes because you see there's some things that it's thinking might be wrong. So you can just, if you see that, you can just right click and those come up as options to correct. But honestly, it is pretty accurate. And the commands, there's a lot of commands you can use. There's copy, cut, paste, all those formatting commands. You can also get more voice commands, and those will be included in the PowerPoint that goes with this presentation. So you'll have an ability to go in and kind of practice those. And once you get good, it's not just about how you enunciate, it's also based on context. Sometimes it's not really sure if you mean for type next paragraph or if you mean for to go to new paragraph. When that was a mistake, because it should be new paragraph, not next paragraph. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to you as a person, honestly. But a lot of those are just general commands like insert table of contents, insert page break. And I'll show you insert page break because I thought that was good. Insert page break. And so you see it does work, but it started to type the words because it is not necessarily knowing what you're going to tell it to do until you hit the last word. So that's interesting. But all that's the constantly improving because they're very much evolving that as it learns from the many people that are using the service. Now, another thing that I want to talk about here is actually a way of finding out how to write out numbers or spell out numbers. One of the things that I realize is I am not necessarily the best with decimal points. It would be accurate to say decimal points with many multi-leveled numbers. So once I get past like the hundreds, thousands, it gets sketchy. So one of the things that you can do with Google is actually allow it to do the work for you. All you do is put the number in and put in equals English, and it actually types out how it should be written. And you can just play with that. You might can get it to go out a little bit further. Whoops. Let's see. Make it 100. And you probably, and I don't think it'll go further than that. Yeah. So it'll get to the trillions, and that's the limit of this. It does not do decimal points, which I say is its shortcomings, but maybe eventually they will fix that. But that would help me from a decimal point standpoint. But you see it does do this multi-tiered number that is so long, but as many times showing up in different things. And so it makes it easier to go ahead and write that out correctly and make sure that that accurately reflects what you're trying to communicate. The other thing that I found very useful recently is the ability for you to type in just simply timer. So instead of going and downloading an app or Googling for one of these YouTube videos that you see further down the screen, you would just type it in. You see it's automatically already started. Well, actually, I think I hit it by accident. But you can also do the timer. You can also do a stopwatch and go the other way. You can reset it. You can use it in a multitude of ways. If you do that Pomodoro system where you do like 20 minutes of work and then take a 5-minute break and tear that through the day, you can definitely use that to do the timings. So that is pretty helpful. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk back to you about is the revisions history on documents. So let's name this document by clicking at the top. We're going to call it dictation test. Well, this is technically the first version, but I did name it. So now we're going to go ahead and go to File, Version, History, the version history. And so you see that it technically has two versions. It has the one where I had all that typing and the original one. And as soon as I clicked on the original one, you see it says restore this version. So if I in essence wanted to return back to that version, I would just click this and ask you again and say yes. But that was a mistake, obviously, because now I have no content. So if I wanted to go back, I would just go back to File, Version History, see Version History, and I would go back to this one. And then again, the button comes up automatically, restore this version, and I would hit restore. Once I click on restore, I'm back to my document that had the text in it, and I can move forward from there. So that's a pretty good way of tracking things. It also did let you go back to the history. You can click on it on the right and name the versions. So you could name it includes punctuation. You can name it original. And it still keeps your date and time format. Go back here, you can name it some edits. And you can name it blank. So you can name it different things and you have that ability to just go between them. It automatically is trying to let you restore to whichever version you'd like to go back to. So that's pretty convenient. The other thing that you can do is publish your documents to the web. So In terms of publishing your documents to the web, it allows you to actually create something in Google Documents that you can share out and link to. So if we simply go in here and then go File, Publish, Publish to the web, it automatically brings up link, and it's going to give you a link and publish it. Or you have embed, and it'll give you the code. So if you have the link and publish it, it's going to ask if you want to publish a selection, and then it gives you this link. You could share it using one of these social media platforms or email. Obviously, the preferred is Gmail. You could get the code to put on a web page. It gives you an iframe. You could also go ahead and, after you've published it, stop publishing. You could check or uncheck this box. So you may want to republish it when changes are made. So that means that you would basically automatically get changes made to it. So let's say this is a document that has a list of offices on it. And every time you make changes to the office numbers, that link will be updated. And then people that click on the document on your website will actually see everything that you have done in terms of changes. That is pretty great because I know often I'll make a change on a document. I've forgotten that it may be on the website and have to sit there and think to myself, oh, I need to go and also update that other one. So it does eliminate a whole step in the process of keeping things current. You may also decide that you no longer want to publish lists of offices. So you have complete control in that because you can go in and stop publishing. So you just stop publishing and it's no longer accessible to anyone. The other thing that you may want to do is just share documents. Just like I noticed or mentioned that you can share the folders, you can also share documents directly. So if you want to share documents, you would go in and you would, just click File Shares at the very top. So sometimes it's hard for me to find. You could share via email. You could add a note. Don't forget to let me know what changes to make. You could send that. You could also go back to File Share and you could get a shareable link. I like to do that because then I can go and I can paste that link in Outlook and send it via Outlook. So you could definitely do that. You also need to notice that when you send it to people, it is automatically checked for them to edit it because the software is collaborative in nature, so it assumes that you're okay with them editing it. So you definitely want to look at that and make those changes accordingly. Maybe they can just put comments on it. So let's say that we go back and we change it to jenniferslewis@gmail.com, can only put comments in it. And then we send that to her. It says shared with one person because that's the same person. It does recognize that was the same email address that you're sending it to. But lo and behold, there are more options. Again, you can get the whole URL and you can automatically share it through all these social media platforms or via Gmail. You can go ahead and change the access to on public so everyone on the internet could see it, just those with a link or specific people. You can also control what they can do. So you can prevent people from changing access and adding new people. You can also disable options to download, print, and copy. So they could edit and everything and comment, but they wouldn't be able to download it, print it, or copy a version of it, which really prevents them from renaming it, which will be the risk of them disclosing information. But then you would just make those changes, and then it just says done, and then you're good. So there's a lot of security in here in terms of what you can do and the degree with which you can control it, not just immediately, but long-term you can make changes. Another thing that I like to do is make an automatic substitution list. So you might remember those from Word where there's a list of things that you might type incorrectly that you want the system to automatically correct for you. So in Google, you actually go to Tools and Preferences, And then you can just go ahead and put in information. So I often misspell. I always have to think about it. I think it's that way, right? There's two ways. Well, I think there's two ways to spell Michael. There's probably not. I think EAL is the correct way. And so because that is a thing that I do, you see, once I make that, as soon as I put the space in, it automatically corrects it to EAL. But you have to just think of words, the things that are not already in the list, because you saw that when you go to tools and preferences, there are already certain things that are in the list that it automatically corrects for you. What I thought was great was that some of these fractions are already in there in the right scale size. This is regular and this is, so it actually looks small enough to be a fraction. So there's a lot of options in there. So that's definitely something that I have used in the past to make my life easier. This is something that you may not know. You can actually edit a PDF in Google Documents. Not every PDF. It's not going to be a replacement for Adobe Acrobat because you can lock that down so someone can't edit things. And some things may not translate very well. But there's certain things that you can go ahead and convert from a PDF to a Google document. So I'm going to pull up one of these MAOP newsletters. One in here. Here's the folder. So here's one. So this one is a MAOP newsletter from 2014. So if you had a document and it wasn't, let's just start from the beginning. I'm going to download it to my desktop. And when we download it to my desktop, oops. I'm going to go back to my Google Drive. And then I'm going to upload it just to show you the entire process. So I've uploaded it. And then I'm going to open it. But instead of letting it open just by double clicking it, I'm going to open it with Google Documents. And Google is going to look at it and try to convert as much of the text as possible to actual editable text. So you see right here, this is the text it was able to pull, which is quite a bit. It's got all these pages of data. So if you're trying to save time from retyping something that's in a PDF and you can't get it out of a PDF, this is definitely an option you should try. Not that many things are locked out or have issues. A lot of it will work. I would say 95% of what you're looking to get out of the PDF will come over, and 95% of the documents are not locked to prevent this. So it is definitely a solution that you could incorporate into your toolkit of things to reduce typing. There's also an interesting one that you can use to convert an image into text, which I thought was pretty interesting. So I found an image. Let me see where it went to. And it is an image that has some text. So let me just show you right there, right? So it's going to ask me open with. And I'm actually, it doesn't give me what I want. So I'm bad about doing that. Okay. So we're going to go back to open with. Where can we find it? And the trick to this is instead of doing it with when it's pulled up in preview, you actually have to open with by right clicking. So you see, I'm going to right click, open with Google Docs, and that is the way that you get to the Google Docs option. Unfortunately, it's not available if you're already in preview. So all I did was open with Google Docs. The image is going to show up first, and then a text conversion of the document. So I thought that was pretty neat. You see the image is there, and that allows you also to rescale the image, or even, I like to do this just to be weird about it. You could rotate it. You could do some things with the borders. You could crop the image. There's some image options that you could recolor it. I thought that was pretty neat. Like when you recolor it, all you do is click on recolor, and you can change it pretty much completely in terms of what it looks like. Transparency is also an option, not necessarily a useful one. You can also increase brightness, which does take color away. So that's one of the considerations. And you can increase contrast, which would make it a little bit easier to see, especially if you go with a light color. You see it starts changing the color. And then if you don't like it, you can reset. Go back to no recolor and you're back where you started. Crop image, you can change the size of it. Let's say you don't want that little ad there, just change that and then you're good. And there it is, it's much smaller, but you've eliminated that whole extra watermark from the original company. And always remember your right click will be the best thing you can do because it allows you to do a lot of different things. It also allows you to make this image accessible, which is very important so that we're in compliance with these standards, Section 504. So you could put on there daily advertisement image. Newspaper with daily. And the bad parts there, get rid of it. Daily news listed on it and the word advertising. And that makes it friendly for anyone who has an accessibility concern. You can also replace the image. So you can replace it with things from your Google Drive, other photos. You can use things from your camera. You can also search the web, which I found interesting. You could find other ad per type. You can see this is what I searched originally. But none of these really fits because that was actually the word advertising and it was an ad for advertising. So try one more time, see if you find anything. This is, I guess, an alternative. If you double click, it replaces it, but you see, it scales it back down to the size of what you had, and it's not going to really work for our purposes because even if you make it bigger, it's not really letting me see the rest of the sign. And there's no more scaling options. So it kind of put it in the context that it found it, which is that's the scale it's going to use. And even if you change the margin, you're seeing it's not able to get the rest of the picture. So it's not necessarily what you want to do. So you could definitely go back a couple of times. You go back and eventually it goes back to your regularly scheduled image. There you go. So those are just a couple of things you can do once you have the ability to convert an image and its text to a separate image as text. You'll see there's the original text that we were looking at. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you is that we also have the ability when we're looking at the image is to save it to something called Keep. And that's Google Keep. You see it shows up. So you can actually make notes in Google Keep. Google Keep is an add-on that you can download from your phone or onto your phone. And so you could actually see all this on your phone. And you could just put like advertising images. And you can put it to the top of all your notes if you'd like. But it's pretty neat in that respect. But while we're here, I also wanted to mention there is some other things there, as you can see on this right-hand corner that have shown up. You actually have access to your Google Calendar to go ahead and make some entries in your Google Calendar. It shows your schedule, it selects calendars. Like I have many Google Calendars, as you can see, so it would actually allow me to go and pick which ones I see or unsee things that I don't need to see. And it'll show on here that you disabled that. If you want to create an event in your calendar while you're sitting there thinking about it, while you're doing the document, and say, find other images. And let's say we schedule it from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Find 5 more images for presentation. And you can actually add guests that can see it. So you could add it back to, let's add my daughter. And save it. Would you like to send an invitation? Send, why not? I'll let her know later why she received that. So there's a lot that you can do there. And you'll see the other thing that I don't want to forget to mention is the tasks. So you can actually use this. So while you're doing this ad, you might want to add a task that says research old advertising, stock, old advertising, okay. Research the history of advertising for presentation. And then you can, let me see, make sure you saw that. So right here, I clicked on the pencil. It says edit details, and you can add a date and time. So let's say I want to make sure I get that done, and I can set a time. You can also get it to repeat. So I thought that was interesting. And then you can add subtasks. You could go on there and add, so if you're going to find the history, old ads, find old ads. 1930s. Find leaders of advertising from early inception. Okay, and then you'll just additionally put whatever else you need, and that is in your tasks. You just close it out when you're done. And then there's all your tasks related to that sitting right there on the side of the page. And don't forget that the share option is also here on this corner. And it gives you the same options we had discussed before, but it's right here conveniently situated, as is the comment history. If we were sharing it with Allie and she gave us some comments, we could see the comments, or we could add comments. And there could be a string, basically a chat of all the comments sitting there on the side. So those are all different things that you can do just within Google Docs. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to show you, let me get out of the image itself. Oops. Is right here in the bottom corner. It's called Explore. So Explore gives you the ability to search your document, and it's going to bring you, it automatically searches your document and brings you up search results that match topics in your document. So since I'm talking about advertising, it's bringing up news and advertising, your daily news. It also brought up some images. So here's another image that might be good. It says advertising, ads, agency. So that is also a way, and it allows you to go ahead and click on it and insert it. So if you're working on your presentation, you can kind of go ahead and start getting additional information from your presentation right here. See, and it also brings within it, if you're going to do citations, the link. So there's the link if you're going to do a reference page. You'll see on there, there's all the citation materials you need. So Explore is a very good option. Another thing we want to do is when we're looking at our folders, we may want to actually make copies of our folders. So if we wanted to make copies of our folders, we can click on it and click Shift and the letter Z. And then it's going to automatically come up with this menu. So now it's asking us where we want to put the copy. It doesn't really tell you it's a copy, but it's just telling you where you want to add it. So I want to add it to my drive. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add it. I'm going to add it to, where's that, links. Links. So I add it under links. When I go to links, now I have a new folder. It says links to read, G-links. And it brought in the actual link that was in the folder. So that's pretty neat. So if I wanted to, I'd go back and delete this one. And I've still got it back here. Oh, wait, no, look at that. So because it was a copy, it actually deleted it. So that actually doesn't work in that respect. So be careful with that you don't accidentally remove it in doing that. So again, to make a copy, it's Shift and Z, but you can't delete the original. So it's really thinking a lot about what you've already done, and it remains linked to your original folder. So you can also make a new folder, copy, and add the link there. And then we could move this one, the suicide prevention one that we did the other day, into that folder. Oops. Looks like we're having some internet difficulties. But anyway, you would just select that, and then you would just go ahead and move it to it and select the folder you want to put it in. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is save to Google Drive. So let's say we're doing something completely outside of Google Drive. Let's say we're looking up famous educators. We wanted just to save an image to Google Drive. Well, there's actually an add-in called Save to Google Drive. It's an extension. So we want to go ahead and put Save to Google Drive extension in Chrome. We download this. And you see right there it is saved to Google Drive. And then you would actually add it. Your button would say add to Chrome. Once you add it, you'll actually see it's up here in the Save to Google Drive. So then all you do is if you want to save something, let's say you want to save something on Bill Nye the Science Guy. So you'd click on Bill Nye's information, and then you would click on Save to Google Drive icon. And you saw that it was spinning. You're not seeing this window, but there's a window that pops up. There it is. And it actually says, hey, I'm saving this to my drive. So I'm calling it Bill Nye. So if you go back to my drive and search Bill Nye, there it is. But what it's done is it's created an actual image, a PNG file of what was on the website. And that, because that was an actual web page, it created an image of the entire web page that it had. But you can actually find an image itself. If you click on images of Bill Nye and then find this image. And you see, oops, you can't see it. Okay, right here, you see this image has an address. So now you can save image to Google Drive. Again, it's going to be a little box that comes up. And this time it's named it Untitled Image. You want to rename it Bill Nye. And then apply that. And then go to your Google Drive. There we go. That's the actual image of Bill Nye that's coming up. Sadly, it looks like we're having some internet issues, so it's cycling. But it's in there, as you can see from the menu. There it is. That's definitely useful, especially if you're doing presentations, to have that ability. Okay. Another thing that we want to be able to do in Google Drive is editing Word documents in Google Drive without converting them. So that's actually an interesting thing that I found. You don't actually have to convert them, but to avoid converting them, you have to install something called Install Office Editing for Documents, Sheets, and Slides, Chrome extension. So let's close out of some of these and just go back to Google and type in Install Office Editing for Docs, Sheets, and Slides, Chrome extension. You see it starts to automatically populate that. Then you'll find the one, but you actually won't need to find it because I actually have it in the PowerPoint. And this is it, Office Editing for Docs, Sheets, and Slides. So once you have that installed, and I want you to look at the icon right there. It's a circle like Google with a pencil, and it's up here. So what the first thing you're going to do is open any Word document and start editing in the Office document. You're going to open with. Okay, now look at that. So it's different from the others, and that's why I wanted to show you. Even though you uploaded it, once you upload it, it automatically thinks you want to open it with Google Products, so you don't want to upload it. It says that to use that, you have to actually open the existing files by dragging and dropping them into the browser. So we're just going to find something on our desktop. So we're going to have to minimize the screen a little bit to get some real estate and close out some of these windows. When we do that, we'll just get something that we have that's a Word document, and we'll use that. Here we go. Oops. We're going to try again. Hold on one second. It may be because of the way. I think it probably just needs to be on my desktop. I'm just going to go to my desktop. Our documents here at the office are linked through Office 365, so it looks like it's trying to pull off that information. So let's see. Okay, now it worked. Okay, so don't pull it out from your OneDrive or Evernote or anything like that. You're actually going to have to drag it from your desktop to the little browser, and then it opens it. So here's the document. It's still in Word. See how it's got the W over there? And so now you can just go ahead and make any changes, because edits will not automatically be saved, which is what it would do if it was in Google Documents or Google Docs. So I'm not really going to save it yet. I'm just going to go ahead and make some changes. Like I'm just going to do different things just so we can see there's a distinction between both versions. Okay, and so there's some changes, right? And then I'm going to actually do File. It's actually compatibility. I'm going to save it back on my desktop. You see right here, when I hit Save Now, it is not changing it to Google Docs. It's leaving it as a Microsoft Office document. Save. We're going to change its name just so we can see that it did the correct thing. And then I'm going to go to the desktop. You can't see it because it's on a different screen. So I'm going to open it. That's version 2. And here it is, still in Word, which I thought was pretty neat because that was one of my issues with Word and Google Docs, was that if you wanted to use Google Docs for a lot of this editing, then you had to kind of live with it in Google Docs and maybe copy it and paste it back into Word. It wasn't a seamless transition, but with this add-on extension piece, you can actually seamlessly transition between both of them. So you get the benefit of both worlds, which I thought was pretty nice. So now that we've done all that, one of the things that I'm always having to do, sadly, is to work with websites. I'm going to show you our policies so you can see what I mean. These aren't very, very long, but they're starting to get long in length. So I'm going to go back and copy this. And I'm going to go back to Google. And when I go back to Google Drive, right back there, I'm going to download an extension called Google URL Shortener add-on. So, and all these links are in the PowerPoint, so I'm just going to call it Google URL Shortener, but you can search for it. And right there it is. Oops, that's the old one. And they used to have it in the whole system, but they've changed it. So right here it is, add, right there. You see it's already been added. Well, actually that's the different one. But there's several of these. There's this one. Okay, you see that one's in blue rather than the pink one. And if you don't have it added, you would just click to add it. Once you add it, if you're in here doing whatever, like this horrifically long one right here, that is very, very long. If I had to post a link to that, it's just kind of unruly. So you just click on that and it actually makes you a very tiny little URL. And I copy it, paste it. And when I paste it, it takes me to the right article, which is that humongous thing. So again, it's pretty easy. All you do is highlight what you're trying to actually shorten. Click on shorten. And there's actually a button here to copy it to your clipboard. And then you can just go ahead and paste it with the Control V option, and it opens it. So that is very useful. Nobody wants to type all that into anything. All right. The other thing I want to talk about is Visio. Visio costs a good bit of money, even with the academic discount. It's most certainly not free. But what about if you could use Google to do your drawing? Well, you can. There's something called Google Drawings. So if you just go to Google Drawings, it'll actually bring that up. The first result, you click on it, and there you go. Now you're probably asking yourself, what do you need this for? Kind of like the same thing as Visio, is that you can actually draw some images. So that you see right here, they've got some lines, you've got some shapes, which is what I always use. I always do an org chart. So let's say my boss is on here. Move. I'll go insert another shape, another square, and put my other boss. And you could even right click and copy, make your life easier, and put all your bosses. And then you could put yourself. And like Visio, you can actually do those little lines, and it'll snap to it. Oops. little bit harder, but it's free. So that's definitely a way to go. There, guys. It's just a little bit. And it's mostly just getting used to the sensitivity of it. I'm not sure what it's doing here. I'm going to get rid of that. And there. And you see right there, I didn't even have to do a line anymore. It's done figured out what I'm doing. So it allows me to do that. And then you can move yourself around a little bit. But then you can actually have a way of seeing who reports to whom. And then if you needed to move some of this stuff around, you could definitely do that to make it a correct diagram. So there you go. And now you didn't have to have any Visio software to make that possible. So it does have a lot of functionality. And again, it's not, it's not everything, but it does have a lot of options. There's diagram options, and it gives you different things that you can click on, processes, different things that you could put in here. And then you just go ahead and edit whatever it is you put in. So there's a lot of templates already sitting there that you could certainly capitalize on. And it actually has some options. You can see different steps in the processes, and it gives you automatically a change to how many levels are in your process based on what you need. And it allows you to go ahead and automatically change the colors, which I thought that's actually the most impressive thing to me, that just that quickly you can make that color change. Like there's a grid. I need 5. Change all the colors. I guess it's only limitations that it doesn't go past 5, but then again, it's pretty good. And then all changes are saved in Google Drive. You just want to name it or chart. And you can insert images from there, again, from the web, from the computer, Google Drive photos, by the website address and the camera. You'll do tables, different charts, word art. And you can share this with whoever else is working on this project with you and put comments in there. You can add guides in there to kind of make sure things are lined up correctly. And you can snap to the grids. And one of the things I've used before is find and replace. If there's a typo and I spelled something wrong again and again, I've just used find and replace to make that change. Now, I think the best part of this is that rather than having to think about what you have to do, you may not want it as a Google drawing. So what if you want it as a PDF? Just go download as, it's a PDF. Download as is an image type. You want a JPEG, PNG. You can even have a scalable vector graphic, which is the ideal for a graphic designer type situation. You can email as an attachment. Again, it does have the version history. So you can just go here and you see all the versions. You just go back. You can also see the details of the document, where it is, who it made it, when it was last changed. And it tells you the language it's in, as well as how to print it. You can put some settings. Again, it does have the ability to publish to the web. And you can make a copy if you need to as well, or print. So it's pretty functional, and the more that you use it, the better you'll get at using it. And it could rival your Visio once you get good at actually using it quickly. One of the other things I want to talk about are the shortcuts. There are some shortcuts available. I'm going to go back to Google Docs. That's where you'd likely use these. You saw I mentioned the Control V for paste, Control Z actually goes back a step and is like the undo, and Control X is cut. Well, what if you wanted a list of all the keyboard shortcuts? Well, you just hit the Control key, now at the same time the equal key, and then the / key that's under question mark, and there you go. There's a list of all the keyboard shortcuts. So that's pretty easy. And then what you can do is you could paste them or print them, and then you would have all these different things. And you'll see it's very detailed. You could even bring the menus up with these. So if you invest a little time, you can really start flying in here by learning some of these or just having a sheet handy until you get used to it. And honestly, after maybe 5 or 6 times, you'll be used to it enough to get a lot of benefits from it. Now, one of the last things I want to talk about is searching in Google. We have the ability to search, and I think to some degree, most of us pretty much do the same thing in searching. This is what I do. So I've got Google, and I'll try to type what I think I want. So ugly puppy dog sweaters. And that's pretty much all I do. And there you go. And I'm getting stuff. And I'm like, oh, look, I'm a good searcher. But what if I didn't want to put, or if I didn't know all the words to like this, and I just wanted to put ugly. This is probably better for lyrics, actually. So let's say I have a song on my mind, and I cannot, for the life of me, think of what I'm going to. Don't know all the words. I'm going to use the quotation marks, which I always forget to use, but I'm trying to work on that. And I'm just putting in asterisks for things I don't remember, right? You see, it's already thinking, oh, look, there's some songs here from Beatles, Justice League, Michael Jackson. And now it's actually an Aerosmith song. So you'll be able to use that. So if you just remember a couple words, that will be enough. Again, there's also a dash that you can use to eliminate things. So if you want to exclude certain things, you would put cars - Mustangs, and you won't get anything about Mustangs. You're going to get all sorts of other cars, but not any Mustangs. Another thing you may want to do is search based on the site. So if you want to do Tiger Woods, and you only want things that come off on CNN.com, you just type site:CNN.com, and there's all the things. And there's a lot of Tiger Woods things recently because he won that Presidential Medal of Freedom. So that's definitely a way to get things. You could put New York. Sports Illustrated. It's probably because that's not what the site's called. So let's find the site. Some things you know, but Sports Illustrated may not be called that. Let's see. What is Sports Illustrated's URL? Oh, it's si.com. Okay. So now we're going to make sure that we put si.com. And then it brings all the Tiger Woods stuff up that's on only sportsillustrated.com. So there you go. What if you want only or everything regarding a particular thing? So you could just put cars plus Mustangs. Then you see you've got Mustang. That's going to be the number one result. You're going to get other cars, but the Mustangs will be at the top of the list. So that's just using the plus mark. You could also do things across social media. So you could do @cars. It'll give you Meghan Markle. And there you go. You're seeing things with the @ mark. On Twitter is what's mostly coming up. Instagram, anytime an @'s been used. You can also do hashtag. You can see, there we go. We're seeing hashtags anywhere a hashtag is. It used to be able to exclusive to a certain site, but now everybody's using different things. You can also run 2 searches at a time using the and or nor. So you put quotation marks and or nor in between it. So what if we put Meghan Markle and or nor or and or Prince Archie name, and there you go. So that brings 2 different types of results in. Anything regarding Meghan Markle and or anything regarding Prince Archie. So that's my fun for the day. You can also define words in Google without actually pulling up dictionary.com, which I think is the best thing ever. So you just hit define, and then you put in like chartreuse. and then it automatically defines it for you. You can also, this is actually pretty neat, if you type in IP, it tells you what your public IP address is. And that's just me. That's interesting to me. I also wanted to close the conversation out with a couple of fun things. There's something called Quick Draw with Google that you could do for fun. Whoops. It actually lets you draw certain things and see if Google can recognize it. It's just a fun thing to kind of de-stress. So it wants me to draw a palm tree in under 20 seconds. So, and it will say what it thinks it is. See? And so see how good your drawing is. It's also a little bit funny. There's also some Easter eggs in Google that I wanted to share for you if you want to freak somebody out. This one's called Do a Barrel Roll. And it just rolls. And there's also one that's just Atari. Oh, wait. I think we actually clicked on something else. There we go. And it's just an Atari game. So it starts playing. And then you just go in there and you can de-stress for a couple of minutes. And if you don't put the sound on, no one will ever know you're on there. Technically, you're on Google. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And honestly, hadn't played this in a long time, as you can see from that non-stellar performance. And this is for those of you that might want to be healthy. This is actually a food comparison that you can do on Google. Oops. I didn't like that. Well, sometimes things work, they don't work again. Burger versus pizza. And what it was doing, it was bringing up a food comparison side by side on the actual Google screen. But today, it decided not to do that. But there's also several other Easter eggs that are in an article that I've got linked on the PowerPoint. So you could definitely go back in and check for other interesting things. And one of the things that they mentioned is for de-stressing is playing old video games. So you can definitely access Pac-Man and all those through the Google website. But again, these are all just different little things that will help you out in a multitude of ways. And if you have anything else that you're interested in finding out about, let me know. I love to research things. I'm glad to look up some more information. Honestly, I'm not above calling Google and asking questions. So my email address is jennifer.lewis, Lewis, 2 N's in Jennifer, @usm.edu. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you today.